Okay, here we go. Right, dice is in the tray. Can I throw it into the tower? This is going to make really good
Hang on,
listening.
can myself and Tom make a bet on this?
I mean, you can if you want. Am I going to get it in?
What do you think, Tom?
I think he's going to get it in. I have confidence in him.
I'll just be the other flip side of the coin then.
Oh, the estate agent's here. Hang on.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I meant to tidy up.
You're looking beautiful, sir.
Thank you. Just because the other option is this underneath the jacket.
Yes,
Oh no, I'm now wondering whether you should wear that over the jacket.
Over the jacket.
I like the way you still got the original label, as if that's the authenticity we're looking for.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I'm planning on selling this in a few years' time when we get big. It's an original.
If you want provenance,
yes. Sorry, I'm late.
You're fine. You're fine. We are recording.
Oh. I'm coming in my shorts as well.
It's fine. I'm only top half. Like I'm wearing tracky bottoms. Like it's. Not...
I've literally got shorts on.
I could be asked to get up. I got combats on. Don't worry.
Where did you start recording?
I'll beep that out, Tom. I'll beep it out. You're fine.
No, you won't.
Right, here we go. We're gonna get the D20 from the tray into the tower. First go. 3, 2, 1. Hey! And the number is 6, so that's not great. Oh well. Should we get started?
Should have done a block dice, but that is a beautiful tower.
It is, isn't it? It was my runner-up prize for the weekend.
Lovely.
Anyway, let's get started. Play the intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Dice Please, the bite-sized Blood Bowl podcast brought to you by the people at Blood Bowl Live. My name is Chris. Joining me this week, as always, Mr. Scott Bryant. Scott, what makes a perfect birthday?
Alcohol. Irresponsible alcohol.
Irresponsible alcohol.
And socks. And a new pair of socks. Done.
Lovely. Okay, so we know what to get Scott for his next birthday. It is a bottle of whiskey in a sock, I guess.
Perfect. Happy. Yep. Love it.
Great. And joining us as well, of course, Mr. Tom Hovell. Tom, what makes a perfect birthday?
It's got to be cake. Just pure unadulterated chocolate cake.
Pure unadulterated cake. Love it. And joining us, Mr. Tom Feeks. Tom, what makes a perfect birthday?
Good food, good company, and not being at work.
Oh, that's some solid shouts. That's some very solid shouts. I mean, I think you've all covered all the basics there. You've covered all the kind of key things. So I have nothing to add. Nothing to add. What a cop out, but hey, I can do it. I'm hosting. But I normally at this point I would say we're not here to talk about birthdays. We're not really here to talk about birthdays, but it is our birthday. We've been doing this podcast for 52 plus 1 weeks. We have been doing this for a year, and it goes without saying that the first thing to say is a big thank you to everybody, whether you've been listening since episode 1 or whether you came in when we got a little bit better a few episodes in, like TV shows where you don't start on the pilot, you kind of start a few in, because when it gets better, then you go back and you watch them. Whether you're one of those or whether you've been with us the whole time, a big thank you for your support. And in talking unqualified Blood Bowl chat for a year, it makes perfect sense that we would either get things wrong or completely change our minds. There could be a bunch of stuff that we've said, opinions we've given, that on reflection we just think we were wrong, think we should have done something better, think there's a Blood Bowl opinion that has changed of ours. So we thought we would make the most of being 1 year old to hand out some corrections and things that we now think differently on. Who am I going to pick on to give their Blood Bowl correction first? It's a very good question. Why don't we go with? Because we're talking birthdays. Why don't we go with the youngest of the group and the one who has had the birthday the most recently, which I believe is Mr. Tom Feeks. Tom, what is your Blood Bowl correction? What have you said to our listeners that now you wish you hadn't and want to take back and correct?
Well, firstly, thank you very much for reminding me it's my birthday coming up. As this would have been released, it would have been my birthday yesterday. But thank you for reminding me it's coming up and I'm getting older. My correction probably goes back to all the way to my hot takes episode. So before I was on here regularly, and it's about hypnotic gaze. So I came on and I said that it makes no sense and it's overpowered. I still think that it makes no sense when you actually think about it. I still think the dice roll's wrong. It shouldn't be based on the edge of the vampire itself. But I don't think it's as overpowered as I probably went on a rant, and I think I've done multiple rants, not just on here. And this mainly comes from a match that I had against Stephen. If you're watching, I'm sorry, I'm going to use you as an example because the number of ones you rolled kind of proved me wrong. In that I changed the way I was defending against it, and I just went in a massive lump, and it kind of neutralized it. I was just like, I sort of thought about it afterwards, like, the amount I've been moaning about it, I think I've just been playing against it wrong. Because I learned how to play on Skaven incredibly wide and open, and I just went literally like half the pitch compact. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just me doing it wrong.
When you came on that Hot Takes episode then, had you recently come off the back of a vampire pounding?
Yeah. I was off a bit of a rant. I'd had a couple of really bad matches against them.
I wasn't fortunate enough to be in the room at that time, and or not therefore included in the podcast. Not that I'm bitter, still much, but we move on. One of the thoughts I had about hypnogaze in terms of the mechanic that you described with that, Mr. Feeks, was when you roll hypnogaze, should you first of all factor in the strength of the character you are trying to hypnogaze? Because according to vampire law, the weaker the individual, the more chance you've got of influencing them and taking control of them. So I thought this. So imagine the scenario where a vampire is going to hypnogaze a regular Skaven lineman. Yeah. You declare the hypnogaze, you go up to the opposition, and in this instance, it would be strength 3 versus strength 3. So the first thing you do is compare the strength of you doing hypnogaze versus the strength of the person, the hypnogazee, as it were. Now, of course, some vampires are 4, some are 3, but for this example, we'll take 3. If you therefore do a 3-on-3 strength, there's no modifier, it's straight to the 2-up edge roll. If, however, you are trying to hypnogaze, say, an ogre, strength 5, therefore you have to roll your normal edge plus the difference in the strength. So therefore you'd have to roll a 4-up because there's 2 in the difference, 3 to 5. Add that to the edge because the ogre is obviously with bonehead, is naturally bigger, more stupid. Therefore, it's going to be more difficult to take control of his feeble little mind and that big bulk as well. You've got to put a lot more effort in as the vampire. So therefore, you add that factor in. So you do actually allow for the relative size strength of the opponent. That was my thought. I never got to share that with you. So I thought, now, why not? It's our birthday, time to share. And if
Perfect timing.
So the only issue I have with, like, I think the general premise of that is okay, but the issue I have is using strength as your comparable, because the, like, in my mind, when you're hypnogaze something, like, and it's kind of, if your opponent, the weaker your opponent, in my mind, it's how mentally weak your opponent is. It's not how physically weak your opponent is, because
Without,
possibly, like, maybe a stereotype might be that your big and blockers, brute force ones are not your intelligent creatures. So I was then thinking, if you did it as an edge based test instead, your big beefy players normally are not as agile. So you'd run the same premise, but instead you would maybe base it off edge instead of basing it off strength. That might kind of do that. You could also consider basing it off passing and then kind of give the passing stat a little bit more use, particularly in teams that are not passing teams. That could maybe bring something else to the forefront of it.
Anyway, that was my thought. Whether it's done off strength or edge or something else to utilize the current way of just trying to give it a bit more validity, a bit more weight.
Yeah,
that was my thought.
I absolutely agree with both of those, because it then puts more of an emphasis on the person that's getting hypnotized.
Yeah,
it includes them a little bit more, which is my main gripe with it.
It should really be their will, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's meant to be like that. Yeah, like their agility, their will, or even potentially their strength.
Yeah,
you could use strength.
yeah,
Well,
and I think this is the thing, because we don't have a stat for will or mental strength. It would have to be one of them that would make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a small tweak like that. But yeah, I think the correction I'd make is how much I went at it being overpowered, and I think it was me defending against it wrong, playing against it wrong, and I've learned in the past year enough to be able to push through it.
And vampires can, to get to the point where they're doing the hypnogaze, they have to pass the bloodlust first, and we know that vampires kind of have the ability to implode on themselves. Like the games where they're unplayable and don't roll anything lower than a 3, they're unplayable regardless of how often they use it or not, aren't they? So
like the game I played at the weekend at Cake or Death, which was a fantastic tournament. I played a vampire first of all, and they failed 6 bloodlusts in 3 turns.
Ooh.
So they burnt all their rerolls, like literally gone, and they were biting all their thralls, and it completely decimated the whole plan, because they were, again, it was all about where you're positioning all your players, whatever. But by the time they were like, well, I've got no players up at the moment, and I could just, with dwarfs, I could walk through.
Yeah, I had a similar vampire collapse, and it's they're unplayable when they collapse, and they're unplayable when they don't collapse. Like, it's just, who are they unplayable for? But glad to hear that the initial rage of the hypnogaze trauma has quelled.
It's still. I will hold that judgment until my next match against vampires is probably the best way, and it may swing again.
That feels fair. Well, let's do another correction then. Mr. Brian, what would be your correction? What do you want to correct?
Well, first of all, before I do that, and apologies because let's hope the smoke detectors don't go off. But just want to say happy birthday.
Oh, look at that! Isn't it beautiful?
Oh,
don't
don't
leave
have
that
candles,
match in,
so
because
fine.
it will go mouldy. I've done that before.
is that an actual? Is that a French fancy, or is it a?
Yeah, what was formerly known as the fondant fancy. Now is in the. If you were here, Mr. Feeks, I would participate, of course. The first one I'm actually going to mention, it's just a very little one, but it was something it is quite a pressure environment while doing the NDP podcast, especially when you get asked, welcome, and what's your favourites? Boom. Some of them are quite interesting and do take a bit of thought. Most of them don't, and it's whatever is just swimming around the insanity of the grey stuff at the time. But just going back to change my mind, if I can, because you did ask us, Chris, once not too long ago, what was our favourite non-chocolate treat?
I did, yeah, that
You
was
did,
one.
and my answer was marshmallow. And I like a marshmallow, don't get me wrong. I like that marshmallow because you don't have them all the time. But then I went away and I had an experience, and I thought, no, I did get that wrong. The mince pie should be there for me. The mince pie.
Okay.
The mince pie, should be there for me above marshmallow. So I can only apologise to all mince pie aficionados and connoisseurs out there.
Good in porridge, I hear.
Mince pies?
Yeah. Heat up a mince pie, mix it in with your porridge, and at Christmas time.
I will
Delicious.
be doing that, definitely, and I will report back.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
I'm
Hey
I'm
Tom,
confused.
I was shocked too. I was shocked too, but it works.
I'm sorry, mince pie or the mince meat from the inside.
No,
'Cause I
no, the
think-
whole pie. The whole pie. Get that pastry in there.
No.
Nice buttery, sugary pastry.
No,
Absolutely
no.
delicious.
Firstly, it's May, and we're talking about mince pies, which is not okay.
There's a pack in my cupboard.
Oh, God's sake, Chris.
I think it's been there at least 3 years. I shouldn't eat them.
Oh, well, Scott, try it and let us know. I
will.
won't be doing it. It's
If anything, if I have a sort of a impromptu or unexpected turn of health events, and as a result of said mince pie and porridge, I'm no longer here, Fixie. Miss Feeks, I will to you donate my Skaven. I'll put that in my will, so you can have my Skaven.
oh, what a treat. Thank you very much.
Um,
Make sure you give
this-
him the old ones, Chris.
Does this mean, Scott, that there is no Blood Bowl opinion that you feel you have got incorrect?
The only Blood Bowl opinion I would slightly change is previous bias towards dice rolling out of the hand. I'm now very comfortable with dialing out of the cup, and I do have another one. But I thought rather than me just hogging it, it's not all about me. I can come back to my third one as well. So I'm now in the yes, happy to use a dice cup for dice rolling. And then I'll come back to my third, unless you'd like me to share it now, Chris.
Share it now.
You're the
Go,
host.
go,
Okay.
go for it. Go hell for leather. And then I'm going to ask you why you focused on the sweet treat and you didn't correct beef soup.
Because I like beef soup.
Okay. All right. What's the third one?
So my third confession and things I would like to change and correct is a previous one that I'd mentioned, and I am now I can admit to people that I believe that you can play Blood Bowl not just on portrait setups of your pitch, but you can play in a landscape format as well, and I have embraced that.
I'm very pleased because I feel like I go to more tournaments actually where I maybe end up playing landscape rather than portrait. Definitely league wise, I'm almost certain to play portrait because of where we play the games and the way the tables are set up. But yeah, I'm pleased that you've embraced landscape. Are you still preferring portrait, or are you now at the point where you don't really care which way around it is? Because I think I probably, to start with, when I first played landscape, was a bit nervous of it, and now I just don't really care.
I was similar to yourself. I those first tentative steps were very difficult. I'm not going to lie. They took, they did lead to a few tears in the corner on my own at night. But now I feel I can get through a night's sleep without any more nightmares. So I'm quite comfortable with either. That's where we are at the moment, Chris.
I'm so proud of how you've developed, Scott.
I like to think I've matured ever so slightly, just slightly. But again, it's in the right direction. Might be small steps, but at least it's in the right direction.
But which direction is the right direction? Is it horizontal?
Well, it's all relative in terms of your position, isn't it? Really, Mr. Feeks. Where do you start? Where do you finish?
I've had a game where one person sat portrait and one person sat landscape, and we weren't the same orientation. That's happened to me before.
How did that go? Because that makes me feel slightly queasy.
Again,
Can I ask where you were playing this, or was it some sort of cubicle?
This was the first year of the Suffolk Subterranean, and there was a table. It's kind of one extra table needed. There was a smaller one, and to kind of fit it in, sort of sat in a corner shape to not block the door. So.
And just before I finish, just want to shout out to Captain Sis, or known as Simon F, who we met at Cake or Death with BB Ben. Him is Simon. Apparently, you are at a level in your life where you apparently like to listen to us every week. So congratulations, and keep up the fine work. And we commend that to the house.
Not even I listen every week. I'm 2 episodes behind. Moving on from the fine, mature cheddar that is Scott Bryant, Mr. Hovel. What would you like to correct or take back?
I think my correction would be on the big guy that I chose. in I can't remember which episode it was, but I came up with the Griffhound big guy, and I think a number of people kind of stated that wouldn't really class as a big guy.
It was strength 4, wasn't it?
It was strength 5.
Oh, it was strength 5.
It was
Okay.
strength 5, but I think it was just the fact that the actual character itself wouldn't be particularly large compared to your two, which you did an owlbear, Chris, and
Good ground.
Scott. Do you remember what you did?
No.
You did an ogre, a ball kicking ogre.
Nice. Good
Called
choice.
Cool, but awesome.
I must have been. I must have had a good day at work that day.
So Tom, would you change anything about the star you created, or do you think? Because I felt like that was one of those slightly weirder episodes we had early on, where we all made these creations, and I think we all tweaked them a little bit as we talked about them, but we were all relatively on board, and they were quite functional and quite logical, and I think they all did work to a degree. So would you come up with something completely new? Do you think you could tweak it enough to kind of make it big guy enough? Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, so it's the stats for it were movement 6, strength 5, edge 3, armor 9, with loner 4+, claws, on the ball, my ball, sure feet, and heal. So heal was just like really stupid. So you roll a 1d6 on a 1 or a 3, you can't do anything. So you just stand where you are. But you can apply a +2 to the roll if another member of the team are adjacent to it. So it's almost like obviously being a Griffhound, like a dog. So it gives you that ability. So that was kind of like it's a nega trait kind of thing. So basically, if you're unsuccessful, the Griffhound loses its tackle zones, and if it's in possession of the ball, they drop it and have to have it passed or handed to them again. If it's a single action, blitz action, it's lost to the team. So I thought the nega trait was okay and quite good, and equally it's got claws. It was also going to be a bit original because it had like on the ball, but I think in hindsight, it was more of a agile character rather than a big guy, and I think a big guy is more kind of bashy.
I think we changed it as we were talking
yeah.
about it, and I think you pitched it strength 4 and we upped it to 5 as we talked about it as well. I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
In your defense, though, Tom, I think the feedback that we'd had on that one about the Griffhound, I think people just automatically associated the Griffhound notation with the current Griffhound model, which is part of the Imperial setup in AOS. So I think if we had the right sculptor, and you'd be able to design a mini so it had like the top half would be like some sort of super muscled up hawk or bird of prey with feathers on, and the waist down was sort of a dog with a tail. Then if you had something like that, so similar to the classic Roger, then maybe that would work and that would give it that bit, and maybe call it a Gruffhound or something. I don't know, but I think there is legs, no pun intended, but I think there's legs in that one.
We should definitely revisit some of those creations because they were. I think there were some good points to them.
I think that's an interesting one you mentioned, Tom, because at that point I was listening in rather than being on the podcast. I didn't really see much wrong with yours, to be honest. Particularly with the corrections, taking it up to strength 5. I thought it was an interesting one. I think the combination of skills made me think I wasn't sure what role it would play.
Yeah, I think that's the thing because I think a lot of the whole essence of a big guy is just to be there to be a roadblock or a bashy person, isn't it? There's no other big guy I could see that in any of the existing teams that has another role other than to gum up the works or just blitz people. Is there? Apart from the Yeti, because the Yeti just
does nothing.
Just does nothing. Pulls up on itself and then knocks itself out. Yeah.
Just on that point, though, before I forget, I did pitch to another one of the sort of Bournemouth aficionados, David, on Saturday Cake or Death. Evening, David. And I did pitch him that idea we've talked about for a while about having the Yeti and being able to throw the beer ball. He was very much supportive of that notion. And so just I think Games Workshop, if you are listening, please don't take legal action, but please feel free to change the Yeti to be able to throw the pig.
Just tuck it into, version 3. Just tuck it
Yeah.
into the new release or whenever that comes. Just like slide in an exploding throwable beer ball.
First thing in the FAQ, beer ball, throw it. Yes, done.
Yeah, because I think there should be more things thrown in Blood Bowl. Because the realization that you can throw certain kind of specialist goblins is quite nice. Like one of the
throwing bombers.
Throwing bombers and throwing pogoers. That's quite cool.
And of course, with David Rue and his magnificent retro topic of the Chaos Seesaw.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Well, as far as I go for corrections, I think in hindsight, there's maybe a few tweaks I would make to some of my league-friendly stomps. Stomping on orcs being one of them. I think I stomped on orcs. I don't know. I can't remember if I stomped on orcs or not. But what I didn't do and what I should have done is taken orcs for the league. In that particular iteration, they just feel like a very sensible league build that I would get on with. I don't know why I didn't select them. I selected Necromantic Horror, and I think in hindsight, actually, I don't know what there is about Necromantic Horror that really pulls me to them. The werewolves are quite fun, but vampires feel like you could have some kind of ogre style nonsense fun game in a friendly with them. So I think my entire order for that would possibly change to league with the orcs, friendly with vampires, stomping on a necromantic horror, and a complete turnaround there. But the main one I was going to do is I was going to correct my star player. Which, for anyone who doesn't remember, was referred to after the event as just the Plasticine Man or similar, as a star player that basically on its turn, on its activation, it could take the form of one of your positionals that you could have in your team. So, for example, if you were playing lizards, it could take the form of a skink, a chameleon, a crocscore, or a saurus for that activation, and kind of give you an extra bit to your team. And I think it probably was a bit of a cop out of not really coming up with anything particularly interesting. So, came up with a new one, which is very much for lizards and leaning towards lizards, and kind of probably a little bit leans into just the way I like to play lizards. It is a chameleon. It has the same stats as a regular chameleon, except with a few additional skills. It has pass and catch as additional skills. It has passing 2 instead of passing 3. And it has a special, has loner, of course, and it has a special skill, which leans into the idea of it being a chameleon. And once per half, you can choose at the end of your turn with that player for it to take on the team colors of your opponent. And then for the next turn, your opponent cannot do any actions against that player that it would not be able to do against a member of its own team. So it wouldn't be able to do a block or a blitz or a foul against that player. It would be able to ball and chain into it because you can do that with your own team. And you would be able to blow it up with a bomb because you could do that with your own team. But all the same stuff would apply with regards to turnovers. If a turnover happens, if one of your own team goes on, so that all that would apply. You would basically treat that comedian as being on your opponent's team for the next turn. So I'm thinking like it would be a player that would be built quite nicely to give you a good passing threat because it gives you 2+ pass with pass. It's already got on the ball as a chameleon, and it also has catch. So you can go under the ball, catch a ball on a 3-up with a reroll, pass it on a 2. Like, it creates a great passing threat. But also that additional skill, if you just choose to run that chameleon up as far as you can, and you don't want to make the most of the passing threat, you could run deep into your opponent's half and trigger the special skill, and then you're deep in your opponent's half, but you cannot be blitzed. So if you can't quite get far enough, your opponent can't blitz you. So you're kind of relatively safe, and then you're still stunty with dodge to kind of dodge out and run away. It doesn't stop someone road blocking you, but it kind of gives it two different. You couldn't really play both those styles with it, but it gives you two options. So I think it'd be quite an interesting star to add. I would probably put it at I might put it around Skitter price, like 140, maybe 150, because and I think that's quite a lot for two additional skills. It's normally 70, two additional skills plus the special skill. So maybe about 130 feels like it might be quite right. So it'd be quite affordable. But I think it's quite a nice little addition.
And be able to be played on both Amazons and Lizardmen.
I think Lustrian, yeah, it'll be Amazons, Lizards, Slan, if that were to ever happen. That's probably it. Actually, it's probably kind of similar to the other kind of lizard-based stars.
Yeah. One of my thoughts on a correction was actually around the Build a Star Player workshop, which is episode 7, which I found. If anyone wants to go back and listen to it, and I want to make a formal apology to Scott that I've changed my mind about Cotted Well Healed, the tantrum causing halfling. I think it's ridiculously funny, and it should be played.
It's very funny. It's still rubbish, Tom.
says Professor Blue Tack in the corner there.
Hey, I've corrected that now. You can't come for me for him anymore.
No.
Because I've corrected him.
No, it's not
This
correction.
is an amnesty.
An addition. It's an additional star player, which I like, and I'm happy to support the chameleon. But that's out of the bag now, Chris. Whenever there is a a change in figure, which is just represented by a lump of blue, then we know who to blame.
So as Tom wasn't party to it, have you got an idea for a star player?
Ooh,
that
here we go. Build a star player on the spot. You have 30 seconds.
Your time
Time starts now.
Well, mine is based largely around this idea I've had of a blue tack man.
Or Pritt Stick Boy.
There you go. Generic white tack man.
There was
copyright.
There was a game I really enjoyed, and I think actually we could possibly do a whole episode on it. There was a game that we played on the journey on the way to the tournament at the weekend, which ChatGPT came up with, where you basically at some point in the journey you say snap, you point at something that you've seen, could be anything.
I've got the rules here. Do you want me to read them out?
And you have to build a star player. No, we'll save it. We'll save it we'll actually do an episode on it, I think. So, but it's kind of like you've got an object and you just have to build a star player from it. But you don't have very long. Which I thought was really fun. So I think we could probably do a whole episode on that at some point.
Actually, yeah, we could play the game live.
We could play the game live. Do you have like a star player that, or this might be easier, Tom? Is there an existing star player that you would make a change, that you would make a correction to, that you think would make it better, but maybe not overpowered?
No, but I have an answer for the first one.
Oh yeah, go for it.
While I was looking around, I don't have this thought out at all. But just thinking about that game, I was looking around what I have, and I looked at our lovely beanie. And I just thought of a star player who's just a sheet that grapples people like in D&D.
It's a wraith, isn't it?
No, but a wraith that grapples people. So it obviously you'll have wrestle, but the idea is that it just swamps them and pulls them down. Then to get up, the player has to then make a contested strength check to then get up and leave.
I think you could make a really good wraith star player that has that kind of skill of, like, if it uses wrestle, it remains on the ground, and you just have to try and strength
Yeah.
your way out of it or something. Like, I think that's good.
And that should be called, fight your way out of a bed sheet.
I think that's good.
just called fitted bed sheet or non-fitted bed sheet.
Well, look, hey, we don't get everything right, and that's why we've done an episode of corrections. But if there's something else that you don't think we've got right, or a Blood Bowl opinion that you've got that has changed over the last 12 months, something that you want to share with us, Mr. Scott Bryant, how do people share with us their thoughts and feelings?
Mr. Chris Coe, people can share their Blood Bowl thoughts and feelings. Other thoughts and feelings you can share with us for a reasonable fee, or at least legal protection. Drop us a note. It's New Dice Please, all one word, or lowercase, or uppercase, or mixed case, or whatever font you want. But New Dice Please at gmail.com. And when your satisfaction needs to be satisfied a little bit more, and you cannot control your cravings, Tom Hovel, where do people go to satisfy their urges?
So you can get us on our socials. That just sounded completely wrong.
Yeah, I wondered where he was going with that. And I knew it wasn't going to
I
end
feel like
well.
you've been pushing it closer to the line every week.
I know. Thank you, Fitz. I like to see Feeksy's face, just like, yeah.
Feel unclean.
So you can get us on New Dice Please on Instagram and Blue Sky. We are also available. You can see us as well as hear us on YouTube under Blood Bowl Live or New Dice Please. Let us know what your thoughts are. And I think you wanted some more confessions.
Yes, we still want your Blood Bowl confessions. Send in your Blood Bowl confessions. Send them into the email address. It's probably the best, newdiceplease@gmail.com. And we will collect those together. So yes, please send in your Blood Bowl confessions. Thank you very much, Mr. Bryant. Thank you very much, Mr. Hovel. Thank you very much, Mr. Theeks. Thank you, everybody, for listening for the past year. We have been New Dice Please, and we'll see you next time.